The first thing you need to know is we did not go to Founders Meadow to start a fight. We went for peanut butter sandwiches and sunshine. My girls, Ava and Lila, 7 and fierce in different ways, were chasing monarchs under a live oak that looks like it remembers every promise this town ever made. My wife, Tasha, tugged a blanket straight the way only an ER nurse can, neat and calm like order itself could keep the chaos away. Then a cruiser rolled up. You can always tell when a car isn't just arriving, it's intruding. Officer Trent Malloy stepped out with that practiced squint, the kind that says he's already decided who you are before you open your mouth. "Sir," he called across the grass, "this is a private park. Time to pack it up." I stood hands where he could see them. "I'm an architect. Measured lines, measured voice. I think there's a mistake, officer. Founders Meadow is public, has been since before I had a driver's license." Malloy looked at our picnic like it was contraband. "Neighborhood association maintains it. Residents only. You folks aren't from here. You folks, it hangs in the air a certain way." Tasha's shoulders went tight, but her voice stayed soft. "Could you show us the policy?" "A sign?" "Anything, ma'am," he said, tapping his radio. "I don't need to show you anything. Comply, or you'll be trespassing." Ava tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, did we do something wrong?" I smiled for her. Not even close. Phones started appearing, the jogger by the path, the older couple with the beagle. Malloy didn't like the cameras. He liked us even less. "Put the phone down," he snapped when I went for mine. "No calls until I say so." "That's not how it works," I said, still calm. "If you're claiming private property, you must know who owns it." "Because I do." He smirked. "Enlighten me, Wo." "My grandfather," I said, letting it carry, "bought this land in '61. Elijah Reed. He donated the meadow to the city with conditions wide open to everyone and no private club rules. There's a bronze plaque by the gate. Been there since '87. For the first time, his eyes twitched. He didn't holster the attitude, though he radioed for backup. Multiple individuals refusing lawful orders, he reported like we were a mob instead of 2 parents and 2 girls in a jar of grape jelly. Sergeant Elena Ruiz arrived with a partner who watched more than he talked. She took one slow inventory playground, city maintenance signs, the plaque in the distance, and asked Malloy, low and careful, what exactly we were violating. He repeated the myth. She called dispatch, and while we waited, people edged closer. Phones up, faces set. The old woman with the beagle said my grandfather's name like it tasted like memory. The jogger nodded. He'd read the plaque 100 times. Dispatch came back loud enough for the birds to hear. Founders Meadow is municipal property. Open to all residents and visitors. Donation conditions on file. You'd think that would be it, right? The story tidy its shirt and end on a handshake. But that's not how pride ends. Lieutenant Carl Denman pulled up like a thundercloud, broad, loud, and already angry. He scanned, scoffed at the plaque, and said to Ruiz, "Why are these non-residents still here?" A little chorus rose up. "They donated the land. It's public. We were at the dedication." Denman waved it off. "Phones don't make you right. Pack it up or get cited for disorderly conduct." Tasha stepped beside me. "Our kids are eating sandwiches." Denman leaned in. "Ma'am, your tone is becoming a problem." Something shook loose in me right then, the part of a man that's been told to be smaller his whole life. "Lieutenant," I said, level as a spirit level, "you ever read the conditions of a land donation with a revocation clause? Because my family wrote one." He tried the phrase that ends conversations among people who never learn to listen. "You people always think." Ruiz flinched. So did his partner. The crowd, too. The wrong words are a door. Cameras found his face. His radio crackled with a voice bigger than the park chief O'Rourke ordering him back to headquarters now. He stood there sweating pride and left without looking at anyone. For 10 quiet seconds, all I heard was wind in the live oak. Then life returned. Officer Williams, the quiet partner, walked over and apologized. Ruiz started taking statements. Tasha finally exhaled. That should have been our happily ever after. But 3 days later, I sat in Judge Miriam Tate's office, staring at boxes full of the life my grandfather built, one invoice at a time. There were letters with banks that wouldn't lend to a black contractor, zoning tricks with sharp edges, and then finally the documents he wrote once he got the land. The covenant, he called it. Here's the gist. The meadow stays open to everyone. No private group can restrict access. Any discriminatory enforcement is a material breach. Upon breach, the Reed family can pull the gift back. And my grandfather, thinking ahead like he always did, set up a small trust to fund whatever fight it took to keep that promise alive. He could swing a hammer and write a clause. Detective Isabella Rodriguez from Internal Affairs came in carrying her own stack. What happened to us wasn't an outlier, it was a pattern. Dozens of calls over a few years. Most families black or brown. The same number dialing over and over. A name I knew from neighborhood Facebook battles Beverly Lang, self-appointed president of an association that didn't exist on any legal paper. Officers kept entertaining her anyway, like unelected gatekeepers could hand out public space by the slice. We could sue, Judge Tate said. We could take a settlement. Or we could spend our leverage like it was meant to be spent and bargain for change you can point to. So we went to City Hall. If Founders Meadow is a stage, the council chamber is its echo. The place was packed, parents, teachers, teenagers, a guy in paint-splattered coveralls who nodded at me like we were cousins. The mayor, Donna Pierce, looked tired and ready at the same time. Judge Tate put the covenant on the big screen. Detective Rodriguez read numbers that felt like bruises, how many families turned away, how many times the same caller rang, how many reports written with the word suspicious, doing the quiet part out loud. It got very still. You could hear people changing their minds. Then came the part where the city attorney mentioned damages. It was a big number, bigger than my mortgage and yours put together. Everyone turned to me like I was going to swing the bat. I thought about my grandfather sleeping in a truck cab to save on rent while he poured foundations. I thought about Ava's small hand in mine when Denman leaned in. I thought about Tasha's voice staying even when her heart was sprinting. I said we'd waive the money if the city made it right in ways that last. Mandatory training that starts with the Meadows history and ends with accountability. New signs that tell the truth in plain language. A community board with teeth not ribbon. Formal apologies to families who got told their blanket didn't belong. And a permanent exhibit in the park so a kid reading the plaque learns the whole story, not the short version. Mayor Pierce looked at the council and then at the crowd. She said yes, and she put a date on it. 90 days, then a public update. The chief announced that Malloy was suspended pending investigation, that Denman was off the street until he learned how to talk to the people he claims to protect. You could feel the room try on the future like a jacket. Then Beverly Lang stood up. She said she was protecting property values, and if you've ever heard that phrase used like a fence, you know how it lands. People booed. I didn't. I told her redemption is a verb. The mayor asked her to serve under supervision on the new board. She blinked like the sun surprised her. Sometimes accountability looks like paperwork and meetings and showing up when people who don't look like you speak. We went back to Founders Meadow the next Saturday. The new temporary signs were already in simple and honest. A brass plate doesn't fix a heart, but it can fix a rule. The live oak threw its old generous shade. Ava and Lila ran to the swings with kids they'd never met. A man I'd only seen pacing a job site brought us lemonade. Tasha leaned on my shoulder. We didn't say much. We didn't have to. And because I know how internet stories go, let me answer the thing you're already typing. Did it solve everything? No, it never does. Progress is a ratchet you turn, it holds, then you turn again. There will be another call, another officer who doesn't read enough history, another person who says, you people out loud or quiet. But the covenant is still there. The training is coming, the board will meet, and my girls will grow up knowing their great-grandfather wrote a promise into the dirt, and we kept it. So tell me this, Where do you draw your lines in the places you love, the parks, the schools, the sidewalks that are supposed to belong to everybody? Would you take the payout or spend it on a better rule book? Have you ever watched a small clause outlast a big ego? Drop your city in the comments, tell me what you've seen, and argue with me if you want. I'll be here. If you believe public means everybody hit like, share this with someone who needs the reminder, and let's keep the meadow open.